Good evening and welcome back to another episode of Goosebumps Podcast, Can Be Murder. I'm your host, Bumps in the Night, and tonight I have with me three co-hosts. Tonight I am joined by Brandon Sime, also known as Dead Shock Studios.
What's going on?
I also have with me an Otaku Life for Me, aka Senpai Josh, aka just Josh.
What's up, y'all? How you doing?
And then last but not least, I have with me Goosebumps Sanderson fan, also known as the Grinch.
Yeah, hello.
This week, we're reviewing another Goosebumps book. Go figure! This week, we're reviewing Goosebumps book number 22. Alright, 22nd installment in the Goosebumps book. Let's get into a plot summary, and then we'll talk about why it did not work amazingly. Anyone have a tagline or anything you want to read before we get started?
I have the book right here if you want.
Do the thing.
Okay, so the tagline is, no swimming, no surfing, no haunting. Jerry can't wait to explore the dark, spooky old cave he found down by the beach. Then the other kids tell him a story about a ghost who lives deep inside the caves, a ghost who is 300 years old, a ghost who comes out when the moon is full, a ghost when the haunting the beach. Just another sweet ghost story, right?
Or is it? Hey, so, I don't remember, did it mention full moon in the book?
I don't remember.
How deep did he go in that cave? I know it's an old, dirty, wet cave, but how deep was he in it?
You went very deep.
Oh, man. Alright, so, this is one of our more stranger stories. It has some positives to it, so I'm not just gonna go and shit on it. It's just, like, it's very middle of the road. But let's get into it. So, this book is centered around two protagonists, Terry and Jerry Sadler. Now, Terry spelled Terri. Gotta make sure there's no Y on Terry. That's important. What else is important with their names is this. They for the first time ever, the last name actually matters in the Goosebumps book. So keep in mind that they are Sadlers and that they are visiting their cousins, their distant cousins, if you will, Brad and Agatha, who live in New England, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So, Terry and Jerry Sadler are our protagonists in this tale. Unlike most Goosebumps books, the full name of our characters are very important. They're spending the summer with their distant cousins, Brad and Agatha. Our story starts off with...
Even though they look like grandparents.
Yeah, that was sus, dude. I mean, I get it. Some families are extended, and I think that's what they leaned into here, but still kind of sus. The story starts off with Terry and Jerry checking out a graveyard where they meet a pack of children named Sam, Louisa, and Nat. And all of them have the same last name, Sadler. Turns out it's a fairly common name for the area, which I get it, but again, I'm not your cousin from Boston, so I don't know how common Sadler is up in the New England area.
I think it's a pretty common name.
Is it? Well, I know Sadler Adams and his Boston loggers, you know? Terry goes from making headstone rubbings to asking the kids about the cave near the beach, which causes the local trio to fall silent with fear. From there, Louisa asks Terry and Jerry if they believe in ghosts. Terry's like, nah. But Jerry's like, yeah. And he makes that kombucha girl face, you know, the one where he's just like, ghosts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after he makes the meme face, Jerry then asks if the cave is haunted. And Sam's like, all right, conversation ends, I'm leaving. And he walks out with his siblings. And then the plot fast forwards to the next day. And the next day, Terry and Jerry are out in the woods looking for some kind of flower. Don't know why. They're just looking for a flower. And they happen to stumble across a dog skeleton. Well, Jerry comes across the dog skeleton. And moments later, because plot convenience, like, here comes the Sadler trio. And they reveal that dogs can tell when people are ghosts. And that's why this dog was murdered, because there's a ghost.
The cave.
Yeah,
they're not like him snooping around.
Yeah, the cave ghost essentially murdered and ate that dog, which there was already multiple issues here, but we're just going to keep rolling because obviously the rules of ghosts are different.
Later.
What's that?
Ghosts really don't need to eat, but yeah. They're telling them about that. It's not going to bite them in the ass later.
I'm just saying real quick, they ate the whole dog. And if ghosts don't have to eat, tell it to that fat ghost in Luigi's Mansion 1.
That's true, too.
You know, he's eating the plate. Then you suck the plate clean and he gets pissed off and starts like vomiting at you.
Yeah.
Hashtag childhood trauma.
That was my favorite games, but GameCube.
Fuck yeah, dude. The music I use in this podcast is actually a very toned down, like monotone version of the dun 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 dun. Yeah, that music I use in the final cut is from Luigi's Mansion. Don't sue me, Nintendo. Fuck you. You don't own everything.
Yeah, I was gonna say, just watch this video gets taken down because
Disclaimer. I will Luigi if you play me, Nintendo. After finding out that ghosts can eat dogs and that a ghost lives in the cave, we reach day 3. In day 3, the kids run into each other again because apparently the entire beach is just deserted. And the only 5 people who happen to roam this beach are children. That's what I take from this. So anyway,
Not creepy at all.
they run into each other, and after some light conversation, it's revealed that the ghost lives in the cave on the beach, which, shocker, saw that coming. The ghost is 300 years old, and no one has ever seen the ghost, but a light can be seen from the cave. A ghost light. Cue the Cars reference.
You look like you just seen the ghost line. The ghost line!
Yeah, you weren't ready for that one, were you?
I was not. That's a good one, though.
Hell yeah. That night, Jerry sneaks out to see the ghost, and he spots the light that was mentioned in the cave. So after that, Jerry asks Brad and Agatha about it, and Brad rules it out as Aurora Borealis. It's just the Northern Lights, which, deep side, dude, this is a kid's book. Even kids knew what the Northern Lights were. Don't fuck with me, R.L. Stein.
Yeah, and you're not too far north to see them anyways.
Oh, we're north, but we're not that far north.
You'd be in, like, Alaska to see them.
Well, not recently. Don't forget, we just had that phenomenon where you could see them across the U.S. except Florida.
That's true.
But again, times, places, and things, not important. What is important is, after not being satiated by the answer that Brad gave him, Jerry decides he's going back to that cave. He's just got an obsession with that cave, and Terry decides to join him this time. So, Jerry and Terry head towards the cave, and guess who they run into?
Three people.
Yeah, the silly trio.
Really 3 cousins.
No, but first, before that, so they go to the cave, they both see the light, and they decide, alright, shit, we're going in the cave. And upon entering the cave, they come across just a shit ton of candles. And they come across an old man who beckons them to come closer. And then they run away, and that's when, bam, they meet the silly trio. It's just a pack of wild geese. Silly gooses. So,
Yep.
the 5 kids sit there on the beach after playing rock, paper, scissors and talking about their Pokemon card collections, because it was the 90s. They decide that they're going to meet up the next morning, and they're going to talk about how to trap this ghost. Because the plot has to keep stretching this out. So now we're heading into day 4.
Yeah.
Jerry ends up getting up early and heading to the graveyard. Doesn't really say why, he just does. So he's on a morning walk through the graveyard when he comes across 3 gravestones that say Sam, Nat, and Louisa.
Doesn't he see 2 new great?
What? No way.
Sorry, yeah, so he comes across 3 gravestones that happen to have his new cousin friends. That's what we're calling cousin friends. After he sees the 3 cousin friends markers, he's like, oh, hell nah, dog. And he runs back home to Brad. And he's like, Brad, what the f***? Brad's like, don't worry, I got you. And he's like, listen, those are the Saddlers that died in 1641 during the harsh winter when they first moved over here, because now we're throwing history into it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pilgrims.
So now the kids are regrouping on day 4, and they plan to trap the ghost now that Jerry feels quelled with his worries. And how are they going to trap this ghost, you'd say? The only way kids know how, by sealing the cave with rocks, which just, wow. Not like ghosts can phase through them, but hey, yeah, you know, seal the door. Thumbs up. I feel like this book was written by a child.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, written by kids for kids.
It's good for the kids if it's good for the adults.
All right, so the plan fails when they try to enact sealing the cave, and Terry and Jerry are left with the old man from the cave. As the trio, the cousin friends, run off, this man, turns out his name is Harrison Sadler, and he is not a ghost. He's here from overseas in England studying the occult. He hopes to see ghosts, though. And then the kids are like, nuh-uh, you're a ghost. And he's like, okay, well, if I'm a ghost, then go to the graveyard. And this is where Josh was saying...
Sorry, they find 2 cemetery headstones that said Terry and Jerry Sadler.
with freshly dug graves at their feet.
Yes.
So now we're reaching the climax of the book, where aside from Terry and Jerry, everyone shows up at the mouth of the cave. So you got the cousin friends, the trio of them, and Harrison, and everyone's pointing their fingers like the Spider-Man meme. And they're like, you're a ghost, you're a ghost, you're a ghost, no, you're a ghost, everybody's ghost. It's like that episode of SpongeBob.
I'm Squidward.
What kind of fool do you take me for? He's Squidward, you're Squidward, I'm Squidward!
Yep, we're all ghosts. So after the ghost roulette is played and everyone except Terry and Jerry lost, we have to have something that fixes the problem. So we go back to that strange callback with the skeleton. So Harrison's dog shows up and reveals that the trio are the ghosts, and that the trio then's like, oh, yep, you got us. Ooh, ghost fingers. And essentially they reveal that they died in 1641, and it's not fair that they didn't get to have a life, but it's okay because they dug them graves, and then it's going to go from being a trio to a quintuplet because all 5 of them are going to be dead. What?
They're going to be a cinco now. They'll be 5.
Yes, a quintuplet. Because it's going to be the 5 best cousin friends you ever knew once they all die together. So Terry and Jerry are like, nah. Harrison's like, he does the Bobby Boo shake. He tackles the kids who aren't ghosts and knocks them in the cave, and then the cave collapses, sacrificing himself and trapping the ghost. Because ghosts can't walk through rocks. It's a proven rock fact.
It's a rock fact.
Yeah.
So now that we got the over the garden wall reference in there, yeah, I'm just full of them tonight, huh, Brandon?
Man, you're cooking tonight.
Thank you. So now we're at the tail end of the book, my favorite part. Remember, when Arlstein writes a book, he talks about a beginning, a middle, and a twist. And here's the twist. So Terry and Jerry return home to Brad and Agatha, or Bragatha, if you will, and they tell them about what happened, and they're like, whoa, damn, that's crazy. You know, they're gaslighting them. They're like, whoa, man, that is just wild. Damn. And then all of a sudden, Harrison's dog kicks the door, and he's like, and they're like, wait, what? And the dog's just like mean mugging Brad and Agatha. And the kids look at each other and go, oh my God, they're ghosts. And then Brad and Agatha look at each other and just go, so what are we going to do with the kids now that the secret's out, though? Dark ending.
Eat them. Yeah, they're going to eat them.
Well, they only eat dogs. And yeah, that was Ghost Beats. Like I said, it's not the worst book. It's just very middle of the road for me. So much Sadler bullshit. And I feel like we could have cut some of the book out. Like, the constant, oh, we're going to trap the ghost. No, we're not. Oh, we're going to trap the ghost. No, we're not. I mean, as a kid, I didn't see the twist. But as an adult who hadn't read it in a while, but, you know, obviously knows the story, it's not hard to figure out. The kids just keep manifesting every time something important happens. You don't think that's weird?
Yeah.
What, the Sadlers have like a magnet beacon? Like they look at their hand, it's like, it starts glowing green. It's like, Sadler, 30 feet west. It's like, oh shit, we gotta go this way. It's like in Dead Space, Brandon, when you put like your hand down and it shows you the path. That's how they find each other.
Question: if the cousins or uncles are ghosts, how did the parents send them there if the cousins are dead?
One, plot hole.
Right now known they died. Well, that could be a possibility. They are like third times removed, and usually you don't really stay in touch with those type of cousins. Like you do, but like not at the same level you would say as like maybe first or second cousins.
Again, it's still sus though. Grinch is right, but one, realistically, the real world answer here, plot convenience. 2,
Yes.
maybe the kids are pains in the asses and the parents just want some time to get their freak on. 3, it's because it's convenient. Realistically, for all we know, and it could have been written in there, but hey, we're staying with our cousins because they reached out to our parents and said they wanted to give us a summer abroad or something. And it's like, oh, if Terry and Jerry had been from England, I think that would have kind of, you know, made it a little more niche. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, we're staying for the summer with our cousin.
Yeah.
But whatever. I'm not here to improve the plot. It's already done and said. 20 years in the making.
By the way, when I was looking at both the comic and the episode of this, in the comic, when we see the cousins, they actually look more older than they were described in the book, to be honest.
Well, that's up to the imagination. I forgot that it had a comic. Anyway, before we get into the episode, let's talk about pros and cons. Starting with Brandon, what's one thing you liked about this book?
It went pretty fast. I remember as a kid I thought this book was absolutely boring to read, but this time it actually went by pretty fast.
Okay. Josh, what's something you liked about this book?
I like the fact that it plays on the childhood fear of not knowing who to trust and not knowing if someone's telling you is the truth or not.
Okay. Grinch, what's something you liked about this book?
Well, okay, it might be my twisted mind, but I like how it actually had the darker ending compared to, like, I don't know, Welcome to Dead House, because, like, at least the kids don't have plot armor, because half the time in these horror novels, it's like, oh, we have plot armor, that's how we survive half the time.
I'm going to give you a real out there string theory here, but how do you know the Dead House ended that way? When they found a dog's skeleton in the woods, if I was the dad, and that was my minivan, and I found out that my dog was a zombie, you'd best know that window would be rolled down and he'd be yeeted down a mountain. It's very possible that Ghost Beach borders on Dark Falls and the skeleton was Petey. I'm not saying yes, I'm not saying no. All right, like, did I just connect the Goosebumps verse? Is that kind of poggers or what?
I think you're onto something.
Yeah, you're on something right there, bro.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Like, the plot armor kind of does take away, because again, R.L. Stine really aims, like, yeah, you can have a twist ending where it's kind of dark like that, but he doesn't really aim. It's not like Shivers. Like, he won't kill the main character last chapter just because, you know? Like, you're not supposed to really see divorce too much. You're not really supposed to see death outside of, like, needed for plot. Like, obviously there's a ghost. Gotta have a ghost somewhere to the title, so someone's gonna die or is dead. But if it's not necessary to the plot, he doesn't. There's a reason no one dies in the Night of Living Dummy books.
Even though Slappy is probably very capable of killing somebody.
Grinch, I heard my name.
Your new name's a bitch now, you're my...
Yeah.
I would just do what Andy did in Chucky movie, where he can cut the head off and put it in the vault.
True.
That's what I would do.
That was Curse. That was Curse at Chucky.
Yeah, well, I don't remember the movie. I just know in one of them, Andy literally had Chucky's head in a safe, and he tortured it. That's what I would do. Like, if Slappy was legit real and he was in my home, cutting his head off with my katana, putting his head somewhere where he can't reach his body, I'd burn his body, and then I would just torture his head and just be like, you know, oh, look, here's my DeWalt drill.
Yeah. Hey, Bump.
Uh-huh.
When I read this book, I was not really scared of the plotline, but when I saw the episode, which we're gonna get to in this episode, that scared me a little bit more, even though that was 90s cheese. But to me, as a little lad who saw It, by the way, the original It, if I wasn't scared of that, and I was scared of a freaking episode of Goosebumps, question my morality, people. Question my morality.
Well, I mean, that acting was so bad, it scared me too.
If it makes you feel any better, Grinch, I started watching horror movies at the age of 7. Wasn't affected. I watched Haunted Mask one night at, like, middle of the night, you know, with my dad sleeping on the couch next to me, and it fucking terrified me, so it makes no sense.
And then the black-eyed children came for him.
That was, like, many years later, but okay.
Anyway, and if you guys want to hear that story, you can find that story out on my main channel here, Bumps in the Night, where Josh tells his story about the time he had a paranormal experience with black-eyed kids. Now I'm going to pass it over to Brandon.
Hi.
Two more things we're going to talk about, then we'll rate the book. So one, starting with Brandon, what's one thing you did not like about this book?
How easy it was to tell, like, what the twist was gonna be.
Mm-hmm. It really was on the nose.
Like, oh my god, I was like 8 years old when I read this book, and I'm like, oh my god.
Were you really?
I figured it out in like 10 minutes.
You were 8 when you read this book? Holy shit.
Yeah, I was like 8 when I read this.
I always forget you're younger. Like, I always forget. Josh, what's one thing you didn't like about this book?
Honest to God, I found the Sadler trio annoying.
Okay, that's fair. Grinch, what's one thing you did not like about this book?
It's probably the old guy who's like, oh, I'm not gonna go because here's the thing. I know he's trying to warn the two main characters, like, hey, don't confront these three, but you could have told them that earlier before.
True. So I didn't say what I liked, so I'm just gonna go with both of them. The thing I liked about this book was the art. That's really about it.
Definitely.
Especially in the movie, in the 2015 movie, and during the end credits.
Yeah.
I don't remember that, but okay. And then the thing I didn't like, like Brandon said, it's just very predictable. It was just like, that's what really irked me, and it's because I spent a lot of time with paranormal content on my other channel. I just don't like that the physics of ghosts were so, like, perverted in such a way that it was just like, really? You know, everybody knows ghosts can phase through shit. That's their whole MO. And you're gonna be like, oh, just put some rocks down there, guy. That worked in 1641.
Did they say in the book that the reason why a ghost won't be able to do that is because that's sacred ground?
Yeah, but what makes the cave sacred?
I have no idea. I mean, again, they should have explained more. I'm just saying.
Yeah, you're right. You know what? That was the first church of the Saddlers, and that's where they all died. And here's another question here. While we're on it, if they all died, who buried them? This is another dead house conundrum.
Well, I mean, okay, they probably had other settlers there, so maybe just those settlers died.
Alright, time to get into a dark theory, and then we're going to go into the real villain of the book. Now, they said they died due to a harsh winter, right?
Yeah.
And they were not prepared for the winter, right?
Yeah.
And this is really this is me reaching, so watch me reach across the room here. Is it very possible that the children who were obviously too weak to survive maybe were eaten? Because, again, hey, we don't have enough food supplies.
Cannibalism is not uncommon during harsh winters in that time period. I mean, but they would have to have been completely destitute with no food.
Well, yeah, they were unprepared.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying it's very possible. Yes.
Again, like I'm drawing at straws here, but again, you got to think about it. It's a bad winter. They just came to a new land. They're not going back anywhere. And at the end of the day, realistically, if the adults survive, they could make more kids. Just saying. It is an interesting theory, nonetheless. I'll give you that. So, starting with Josh, who was the true villain of this book, or what was the true villain of this book? What was the true evil in Ghost Beach?
The elements. It's what took the 3 Sadler children away and never was able to give them a chance to live.
That's fair. All right, Brandon, who do you think the true villain of this book was?
Scholastic and R.L. Stein for green-lighting this mid-book.
He just Deadpooled that shit and broke the fourth wall. All right, Grinch, who do you think, or what do you think the true villain was?
The creepy cousin that they were staying with.
Villain of this book was morbid curiosity. And the reason I say that is because obviously they were curious enough to get on a boat and sail to a new world. If not that, we can go with just ignorance itself, because they were ignorant enough to not plan for a harsh winter in this new world, and it's what ended up costing them their kids' lives that they ate. Very, very on-scene meta, but that's my final answer. Brandon, give me a rating 1 through 10, go.
I'll give it a 6. I do enjoy this book, it's very bad.
Dude, it's fine, it's fine.
Grinch, what do you rate this book?
Probably 7.
Okay, Josh, what do you rate this book?
You're gonna hate me, 7.5.
5. I'm gonna give it a 5. I think it's really middle of the road, and that's all it gets. 24.5 divided by 4, gonna give you a 6.375. Yeah, I'm gonna round that down. It's under 6.5. I'm rounding it down. It's gonna get a soft 6. That's a D. So this book gets the Ghost D on the beach. All right, let's talk episode. For starters, it's pretty much a shot for shot of the book. It's pretty damn faithful. I will give it that. But
except for the cousin, but the Tyler later on,
they don't have Nat.
Yeah, they have only like 2 of them, I think. 2 of them.
Oh no, go ahead. You got this part. I'm just gonna listen.
Well, here's the thing. I liked the book, but there was like I think 3 or 4 of the cousins. Not talking about the older ones, but the other ones they see. In the book, in the episode, there's only 2 of them because I didn't have enough casting to have those kids.
No. Wrong.
Yeah, and also it's just a little more creepier to have only 2 kids.
Not really.
I mean,
it comes down to 3 things. 1, 3's not really necessary. 2, budget constraints. And 3, again, it's the same thing with Horrorland. Clay was not necessary. Nat does not move the plot along. Sam and Louise are more than enough. You don't need a 3rd. It fits the book. It doesn't have to fit the episode. Like I said, it's a pretty faithful adaptation, except for they find the dog skeleton on the beach. And the acting is fucking god-awful. And I do mean god-fucking-awful. Honestly.
Yeah, it's pretty bad acting.
Like, just, you don't believe me? Watch it yourself, or do yourself a favor and just go watch the JonTron review of it, because that, A1. It was definitely an episode. I'd still rather watch that episode, though. I'd rather watch Ghost Beach before Chillology or The Ghost Next Door, but that's just a personal preference.
Yeah. You know what's interesting? So when I watched this, when it got to the part with the ghost kids dying, or, like, dying again, it traumatized me.
I freaked out. I was like a little, what's it called? Unnerved to that scene when they're just like, help, please, cousins, help us.
Like I said, pretty close adaptation. The only difference is, in the end of the episode, instead of them being like, oh, we're gonna eat the kids, they're like, we're gonna have to eat that dog. And that's really it. They just offer to eat the dog instead of the kids. But it's just like, It was an episode. Let's rate the episode, starting with Josh. What would you rate this episode?
Honestly, a 7.
Natural 7, okay. Brandon, what are you rating it?
5.
Ooh, lower than the book. Okay, Grinch?
6.
That acting be a little rough for me, so I'm gonna give it a 4. That's 22, divide that by 4, that's gonna give us 5.5. So yeah, middle of the road episode, middle of the road book, shocker, shocker, shocker on Shock Street. Any closing statements before we talk about next week's episode, starting with Brandon?
Yeah, it's truly an episode. I can say that much.
Wise words from a wise man. Josh?
Be careful on being on beaches. You never know which one might be haunted.
All right, Grinch?
Be careful of creepy uncles or aunts.
Yeah, he's not wrong, guys. So, with that being said, let's talk about next week. Next week, I think we've come to a fork in the road. We can review another Give Yourself, although we did just do The Knight in Screaming Armor last week. So, let's keep on track with the main series. How about we look at book number 23, which is... Return of the Mummy. It's another sequel, but Brandon's not excited for it. Listen, guys, it's the last time we go to Egypt for a hot minute, so everyone just start doing the funky Egyptian and we'll get through it.
Yeah.
And truth be told, this is the better of the two mummy books. This has been Goosebumps Podcast Can Be Murder. If you enjoy our little book club and you want to be part of it, feel free to join the Discord, link down below. Jump in, we talk about bumps, we post some memes, we do these weekly episodes. I break my neck writing them, and then we have 6 people watch them, so it's fun. It's a good time. Thank you for your viewership. If you haven't already done so, click the subscribe button, because you know what they say, if a channel grows at a snail's pace, it's still a healthy channel. So that's all I got for you. Mazel tov.
Thank you.